Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Braincast episode. Today, I have a very special guest from our very own Sussex University. He is an assistant professor here at Sussex, and he had the displeasure of trying to teach me all. And dare I say, he is one of Sussex's most beloved. I'm joined today by Dr. Andrew Penn. Thank you so much for coming and speaking to me today.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you very much for
Thank
inviting
you.
me.
Of course, you're the first person I thought of at Sussex.
It's
Like I
because you
said,
see me so
Sussex
much
most
in year
beloved.
two.
Yeah. Okay, we'll jump right in with the icebreaker. This was the question that we were all tasked to think of when we first joined Neurosoc, and it is which part of the brain would you be and why?
Okay, so I actually have two answers to this question.
Okay, yeah,
The first one is more for amusement.
okay.
So, and it's not so original, I suppose, having heard the first Braincast. But the hippocampus, because the all I can think of is a
Mhm.
campus university with lots of hippos. And so I find that quite an amusing name
Okay.
for a brain structure. But my scientific choice would be
Mhm.
the Prebot-Singer complex,
Okay.
which is part of the brainstem that is a central pattern generator which
Mhm.
controls the rhythm for breathing. And actually, I know you know that I've mentioned this before in my lectures because I talk about this actually because I in the research and professional skills module. But I when I was actually a PhD student, um, I was trying to interfere with the RNA processing of the particular um, neurotransmitter receptor that I was studying at the time. And I wanted to try and perform that manipulation in a context that I thought would have real kind of physiological relevance.
Yeah.
And actually, that turned out to be the pre-Botzinger complex in uh, brain slices of the brainstem. Now, I never actually
Okay.
got to do this,
Yeah.
but it was always my plan. And I wanted to see, well, if we interfere with this process, can we actually disrupt the rhythm for breathing? Because
Oh, I see.
this is
Yeah.
this is how that rhythm is established. So I was super interested in this brain area for a while, and every now and then in my career, every 5 or 10 years, I happen to go to a talk about this brain area, and I always sit down like listening to every word because I just find
Yeah.
it fascinating. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the part of the brain you would be because you find it so interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You just closely align with this area of the brain. Amazing. I feel like as well that's a good one because I think hippocampus is just the main one everyone goes to.
Yeah.
I think that's the one I chose, but I think you always like take a brain region that you like because
Yeah.
it's fun, and then you just try and assign its characteristics to you. Like I think I used something to do with memory and like reading and
Yeah.
journaling. I don't know, something along those lines. But that's very cool. Wait, what was the brain region again? Because I want to research that.
The pre-Botzinger complex.
Okay. I will try and find the words of that so I can learn how to spell
So
that.
I can send it to you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll jump straight into the first segment, which is your academic history. See, I love this part because I love seeing how people get to where they are. Because I think it's so different. I know with Leah in the last episode, hers was it was very cool because she's went all these different countries, different ways of teaching. But I'm assuming that you did most of your schooling in the UK.
Yes, I was
Yeah,
schooled in the UK.
yeah.
I had quite it's quite a kind of long and windy journey really because
That's perfect.
I started off well when I was really a kid, I loved books, but not in the
Hmm.
same way that a lot of other people did. I didn't read loads of books. That's not what I'm saying. But the sorts of books that I chose to read were all kind of fact books. I barely read any fiction unless
As a
I had to.
child,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
very interesting. Okay.
I used to read, so I used to like get encyclopedias and ask for encyclopedias for, as gifts and books
Okay.
about animals. I don't know why. I can't think back now and think why I liked that so much, but it was something I did and enjoyed. And so I guess that was the birth of something, yeah, the my interest in
Mhm.
biology.
Yeah.
I then took a bit of a detour. So I actually got an art scholarship at school, to
Wow.
secondary school, and so did a lot of painting and spent most of my time in the art school. And then, and then actually at college, I was at music academy. I started playing music as well. And uh, but all through my schooling, I was doing science and I was strong at science,
Yeah.
and so it was always part of who I was, you know.
Mhm.
But I did definitely had other interests,
Yeah.
and at one point, I thought they would be a career path, and then I decided as soon as I got my A-level results, really, that I was going to commit to science
Yeah.
in a more formally. So I signed up to go to University of Kiel.
Okay. I
Partly,
applied to Kiera.
did you? Oh,
Yeah.
and so at the time that I applied, they did the
Yeah.
dual honors degree. I don't think they do that anymore. So
I haven't
they,
seen that.
yeah, no. So you could choose to basically do 2 degrees in one, and this is
Okay.
for people like me just couldn't decide what to do. So I chose to do. I thought what was my favorite, most interesting part of biology was neuroscience. So
100%.
I just didn't, plants didn't interest me. So I just wanted to do, well, not in the same way. So I chose neuroscience, but I also originally chose to go to Kiel to do music technology,
Mhm.
sort of following up what I was doing at A level. And as soon as I got my results, I thought, you know what? I spent so much time in the music academy and I enjoyed it, but
Mhm.
like I spent so much time there and I got the same grades as I did in science. And I worked hard at science, but I just didn't, it wasn't where I spent all my time when I was.
Okay.
And
Wait, so can I ask a question? So you're at the
yeah,
Music Academy now. Is this for A levels?
I was, yes.
So are you studying both music and
I was
sciences at
studying
the
all
same
three
time?
sciences, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I was studying all three sciences and music technology. And then when I
Okay.
went to, then I applied for a degree in music technology and neuroscience. And then as soon as I got my results, I thought I
Hmm.
got the same grade. So I thought I should be doing science really. So I switched uh, my music tech um, part of the degree to a biological medicinal chemistry component. So
Okay.
basically, I kind of got neuroscience and the biology side of chemistry.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'm really glad I made that switch. I still did it as a subset music, but
Yeah.
in the end, I sort of did this blend of neuroscience and medicinal chemistry. Yeah.
That's really cool. Because I
So
know you played the guitar at the neuroscience
I did. I played the bass.
party.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you still like I'm jumping ahead in the story here, but do you still
Do I still play? I I wish I played a lot more. I don't really. I only play when I'm forced to, which is really it's um I really enjoy it when I play, but I don't know why, I just don't get around to it like the way I used to.
we'll throw on
Yeah.
neuroscience parties and you can bang out the bass?
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll come back to university. Sorry, I just wanted to jump ahead.
I actually can't remember what I was going to say. Oh yeah,
Sorry.
so I yeah, I really enjoyed my course and
Yeah.
enjoyed it so much, and I always I got really disappointed when I had to go home
Oh.
and work and find a job. Do you know what I mean? And so I found a job in a computer game store. I mean, I don't really like computer games, or I never really was into it. That's not something like my brother was, but not myself. And I was like, this is really not for me, but okay, it's a job. And
Yeah.
I hated it, absolutely hated it. I don't know, was it because of the customer service part or because I just didn't believe in what I was selling? I'm not really a salesperson. So I decided that I definitely don't want to do a normal job.
Yeah.
Um,
That's how I feel right now.
right. And actually, every opportunity I had to work at the university in
Yeah.
some sort of academic capacity, I took.
Yeah.
And it sounds like I took it for the wrong reasons, really. But, uh,
You hate everything else, so this is the only option anymore.
yeah, I think it goes to show that you should just try and find things that you enjoy doing,
Yeah.
because if as long as your next step is something that you enjoy, then you're going to be on a pathway to something you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And I kind of sometimes it takes a step in the wrong direction to realize where that path isn't. So for me, yeah, that's how it went. Yeah. Um, so I, I after I graduated um, from my undergraduate degree, I I wasn't particularly organized, I would say, and I kind of missed the boat for a lot of PhD applications. I
Did
had
you
the
go straight from an undergrad to a PhD, no masters in
It
between?
was easier those days to be able to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you got a if you got a first class degree, you could compete well for
Okay.
PhD position. And
It's a
but
lot
I
more
missed it.
competitive nowadays.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Um, and so when I thought, oh no, I've missed this now. What am I going to do? And I spoke to one of the faculty
Hmm.
members in the neuroscience department. And he says, oh, I've got one of the people, one of my colleagues works at the Sanger Institute in
Oh,
Cambridge, where
yeah.
they just sequence the human genome,
Wow.
and they'd started working there to um, essentially the Sanger Institute had recruited a load of research faculty to try and
Hmm.
uh, now we've got the sequence of these genes. How can we use that sequence to try and well, I guess cure diseases, or to
Yeah.
understand disease mechanisms better. And so this Karen Steele was got a job there, and she so I applied to her group
Yeah.
on that recommendation, and I got in as a research assistant for which happened to be a year in the end that I stayed, and that was an incredible experience, really.
Yeah, that sounds like one.
To So that was my only sort of I guess pseudo industry type of experience.
Okay. Did you
Um,
enjoy it?
I did. It was the the emphasis and the sort of goals of the institute as a whole were very much driving what the
Hmm.
research groups ended up doing, and what their priorities were.
Yeah.
Um, but I picked up such a lot from that experience, and it gave
Yeah.
me a year to work out where I was going to apply for PhDs,
Yeah.
um, and I ended up at the Medical Research Council Laboratory of Molecular Biology in Cambridge,
Okay.
on
Yeah.
Addenbrooke site. So that's kind of like a flagship research institute of the Medical Research Council, and uh, I had two supervisors actually for my PhD,
Okay. Yeah. Is
and
that uncommon?
well, it's not in the sense nowadays that you always have a sort of a second supervisor, but
Yeah.
these were more kind of and sometimes you can get them in equal, um, playing sort of equal contributions to
Yeah.
supervising, but it's not so common, I'd say, even then. And so I was doing, um, so I started this degree,
Yeah.
and it was it was quite interesting because I quickly realized that the two supervisors didn't get along.
Okay.
And actually the PhD project and the opportunity was actually not something that they would have chosen. So
Oh, so
it was something
did you want to supervise this project?
they didn't want to co-supervise it, but they were kind of told they should.
Okay.
So I was like, oh. So I feel actually, um, that yeah, I had to do a lot of mediating, I'd say.
Yeah, it's like
And
living in a household where the parents don't want to be together, and they're just staying for the child.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's not something I was. I think I don't know if it was also the best thing for me because I like to avoid conflict,
Yeah.
like naturally. So I was stuck in this situation. And to be honest, I think they it was more passive aggressive. So it
Okay.
was more
As long as it's
avoidance
not
than
fists flying, then
yeah.
that's okay.
And so it kind of I guess the time I spent with each supervisor sort of it very much sort of swinged from one end to the other depending
Yeah.
on the way things were going with the project. And um
But did you enjoy the actual course and research itself?
yeah, they
Yeah.
yeah the and you know what? I could ne it's despite the plans and the ideas you get,
Yeah.
you can never predict the way it's going to go. I would never have
Hmm.
predicted how it went in the end.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's crazy. Um, I still actually keep in touch with one of my PhD supervisors.
That's nice.
In fact, I was supposed to reply to him this last week to we're going to have a meeting this week. Um, yeah, so interesting kind of almost parental type relationship. It's
Yeah.
funny. I got on very well. Got on very well with them individually, both of them actually.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but yeah, one I keep in touch with
Yeah.
in particular. Yeah.
Do you say that like getting along with your supervisors for a PhD or I don't know, master's project is very important? Or could you think you could do it where just like a mutual respect
Um,
situation?
I think there's different. I mean, I can only speak from my own experience.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, if you're going to spend 3 years
Hmm.
doing research and with the weight on your shoulder, knowing that you want to come out with this qualification as well
Yeah.
as, as enjoy what you're doing. For me, I remember the feeling that if I don't get this, what am I going to do? Like this
Yeah.
is something I really want to do this
Hmm.
as a
Yeah.
career. So why, if I don't get it, then that's shut down all of my plans, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I remember thinking that, that makes you very motivated
Yeah.
to do that PhD and to do that research. And that's what keeps you going. I mean, that some nights I would stay up until 3 in the morning doing an experiment. Not
Wow.
often. I mean,
Yeah.
but uh, when things work, you just want to make sure you make the most of it. And then when it
Yeah.
doesn't work, don't you've got to learn when to say stop
Yeah. Enough
because
is enough.
sometimes you just you know um you're never going to get anywhere sometimes with things, and it's just
Yeah.
knowing where to say when to stop
Yeah.
and when to keep going, when things are working well. But the point is that most of the time things don't go well, and so you need
Hmm.
something to motivate you, and you
Yeah.
need to feel motivated um, to do whatever you're doing. Um, and I guess how this relates to what your question is that I would have really struggled with that motivation if there was a strong kind of personal conflict
Hmm.
with my
Yeah.
supervisor. The conflict wasn't with me and my supervisor, it was my supervisor's supervisor. But that I
Yeah.
could that was okay because sometimes most of the time they didn't see each other. So that um yeah, so but ultimately it depends on you as well, like
Yeah.
your character and how you cope with those situations. So I don't think there's a single answer to that question that fits all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So you've graduated from your PhD now. You enjoyed it. You've left your parents behind. You've flown the nest. Where,
Yeah.
where
Where
did you
did I
end up
go?
next?
I ended up in France. So
Wow.
I I thought towards the end of my PhD, I thought, you know what, these I was still fascinated with the receptors I was working on, and
Yeah.
I thought, you know what, I want to still work on these receptors, but I want to change the context that I'm working on
Okay.
uh, with them. And so we were at the time, the PhD was more about RNA processing of the uh, glutamate receptor subunits, and then
Hmm.
how that ultimately affected the sort of biogenesis of the receptor, so the ability of those subunits to assemble and in what
Yeah.
form, and then how quickly then they were taken to the membrane. And so I thought, well, these receptors actually act on the membrane, not
Yeah.
so I know it's important to understand how they, how effectively they get to the membrane. But I was
Yeah.
also interested in, well, what's their dynamics like on the membrane?
Okay.
And there happened to be some research in Bordeaux on this. So
Hmm.
um, where they'd use single particle tracking to track
Okay.
the diffusion of individual receptors on the
Yeah.
membrane. I thought, that is crazy. That's crazy. So they're actually tracking individual receptor proteins and where they are on the membrane at any particular time. And they came up with these really crazy ideas about, well, what seemed crazy to me at the time. It's like, well, how rapidly these receptors, first of all, actually, that these receptors weren't just stuck in the synapse, they were actually
Yeah.
moving in and out. And I thought, whoa, that's
Oh.
weird. But actually,
Yeah.
their movements in and out would actually affect the influence that that receptor has on ongoing transmission at the
Okay.
synapse. And that
Yeah.
blew my mind. I thought,
Yeah.
wow, I want to go and work there. So
Yeah.
I applied for a fellowship,
Yeah.
it's sort of a European fellowship, the EMBO, I think it was, to go over there and do a postdoc for 2 years. And then I
That's really
got there,
cool.
and he said to all of the postdocs, it was a big lab, and he
Mhm.
just recruited a load of people on his own funding. And then he said to us all, right, I would like to all apply for European funding. I was like, I just did. He said, apply for this one as well. And I applied for it, and the timing was perfect because I got it,
Oh
and it
wow.
meant that I had two-year fellowships from two different organizations to do my postdoc there. So he didn't have to pay me for 4 years. Um,
Good for him.
yeah. So, that was you know what, and that was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
It was the experience couldn't have been more different as well from my Cambridge experience.
Really? In what way?
So the common factor is that they're both very well funded. So, and they're
Yeah.
both research institutes. So there's very little exposure to teaching or supervision as a postdoc or a
Okay.
PhD student even. So it was purely research. So first of all, uh, that was amazing. You just completely focused on that,
Yeah.
and but they're very different in that the lab was much bigger in Bordeaux. It was a huge lab,
Yeah.
and I think how would I say
Was
it?
it just this one lab dedicated to just these receptors? Or was
Yeah,
it lots of
yeah,
little, it was just one lab dedicated to this entire
yeah.
project? Okay.
Well, yeah, variations on the project,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
um, I would say that it was. I'd say that my supervisors at the LMB in Cambridge were much deeper thinkers. Um, uh, they would agonize over details.
Yeah.
Um, whereas I got to Bordeaux and it was very hands off, sort of very over. Um, the supervision or the
Mm.
group leader was very hands off in a sense and very um, he kind of just let you get on with it, really. Yeah. And
Okay.
you would obviously have ideas about what he would like in the direction in which the research goes, but um, he wasn't like my supervisors in Cambridge looking over my shoulder every few minutes going, any insights?
Yeah.
Which
So
is
the
quite,
supervisors in Cambridge didn't get along, weren't particularly fond of it, but were still very hands-on and
yeah, when
yeah.
when it's their turn, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Um, so it was just a really different experience, and I
Which do you prefer? The more
well,
hands-on or the do what you need to do, but as long as it's like this type of one?
I'd always imagined science would be more like how I saw it in Cambridge.
Yeah.
Um, to me, that was just every instinct, scientific instinct I had told me that's what science was. Uh,
Yeah, that's what I would think as
the
well.
scientific process was like, and it was just it was almost more. It felt a bit more business-like, I suppose, in the larger
Yeah.
lab that I was in. I didn't, yeah. So just a different feeling, and different process. But I mean, beyond the science, actually, there was life. That life experience of
Hmm.
moving there was incredible. I moved there with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and um, I mean, we'd actually been together since university,
Did you
but
go to Cambridge as well?
she didn't study there. She was working nearby,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and so we did live together though, and yeah, we'd been together since Kiel actually, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So if she ever hears this, which I'm sure she'll want to hear, she yeah, I'm sure she'll want to hear it. She was very
Hello.
supportive.
Yeah.
She was incredibly supportive, and yeah, it's been like the rock,
Yeah.
yeah, a rock for me. So and I wish I could say that I've been the same, but I don't know if I have. I'll let her answer that question.
Yeah. Oh,
So yeah,
so
and
yeah.
then
So I have a question. Sorry, not
yeah.
to jump over, but going back a little bit, is how did you hear about these experiences and the experience in Bordeaux? Was it like a word through word of mouth, or did you like just find it online?
Oh, what when I was going from my PhD and
Yeah.
looking for the postdoc, I I I was looking online at the time, thinking
Yeah.
I was looking at the papers coming out in Nature and Science,
Yeah.
trying to look for what's the next big thing
Yeah.
and what's really hitting the headlines in the scientific in that scientific field. And
Yeah.
it happened to be his lab at that time got a science paper that
Okay.
um I thought was just the concepts and what they found just blew my mind,
Mhm.
and
Is that
I
something you'd
thought
recommend? Like using
yeah,
the current research to guide where to go?
I think if you I mean I did have some constraints on what I was willing to do. I didn't really want to move to
Yeah.
America. I wanted to stay in
Yeah.
Europe. There was definitely places in Europe I'd rather move to than others, and I did apply to go to Spain as well.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, no, I think so because I think I don't know if it's I suppose it still is the same, but there are the reputation of places that you go to does still influence people's decision
yeah.
on your employability or your suitability. I think that some of that is justified because okay, if they're a great institute, they're great at training, but not
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
And so I so when you're looking and you think, well, what is you're looking for two things. First of all,
Okay.
you're looking for, well, is the science interesting?
Yeah.
And if it's hitting big journals like Nature and Science, it certainly means that there's novelty. And um, so it gives you a sense of where things could be going. But I mean, not always. Sometimes they so
Stop.
how far they go after that is another matter.
Yeah.
But um, and to some extent, the ability of research groups to get into those journals doesn't only, or used to not only, depend on the scientific work itself. Sometimes, people have a better reputation and it helps
Yeah.
them, just gives them the edge. I'm not saying that they can get anything they want and publish
But it
anywhere,
certainly helps.
but
Yeah.
I think I'm almost certain that it helped
Yeah.
back then at least. So I think it probably still does a bit. Um, So yeah, I think it's worthwhile. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
in that
We
decision
can
process.
jump back to France now. So
No,
you're yeah, sorry,
jump
I'm jumping all
jump
over the place here.
jump
I
over
have
the
so many
channel.
questions. It's so interesting. Um, we're back in France now,
Mm.
in Bordeaux. You're doing the research, you're enjoying it. The supervisor's he's there.
Yeah, no,
Um,
he's great. He's great.
yeah,
He's great. Yeah,
we
yeah.
love
Just
him.
different. It's just really different
It's just
experience.
different. Okay. Yeah. So were you there for 2 years, you said? You had a 2 year fellowship?
I was there for two-year fellowships, and then he paid me for another year um after that.
Oh,
Uh,
so that 5 years in total then?
yeah, 5 years in
Okay,
total.
wow. Is that how long fellowships usually last?
Long-term fellowships at postdoctoral level are about around 2 years. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You can
okay.
get short ones, like just a few months,
Yeah.
or 3 months or so. But that's really sort of just kind of a small project idea that you want to maybe go to another lab, pick up a new technique,
Yeah.
in a sort of an area that is of kind of mutual interest.
Yeah. Is that what fellowships are for then? To gain skills in other labs? Or is it like a specific route that you take? So you do PhD fellowship and then work your way to professor? Is that the usual route? Or is it just fellowship is just gaining skills and then what's it usually like a
I think
platform for?
it
Yeah.
depends a bit. So I think with the very short term ones, I think it's an opportunity to um, have the financial support
Yeah.
to get some mobility, pick up some skills, maybe progress the project in a way, your
Yeah.
ongoing research project in a way that you've always wanted to do, but
Yeah.
your current lab doesn't have those resources or expertise.
Yeah.
So those very sort of short-term fellowships are good for that.
Okay.
Longer term fellowships are more uh, really to basically give you that postdoctoral position job. It's
Yeah.
there's not it might be that research labs have a grant and they can
Yeah.
employ one postdoc, um, or something like that, and then you can, rather than sort of be employed on a particular grant, you could get your own fellowship and then contribute to
Okay.
research in that lab. So it's just a different way of basically being paid, and you have a bit more. I suppose you could say you've got more uh, independence in where you can take the project because
Okay.
ultimately you are paid. You pay. You found your own funding.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. You're not using someone else's. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
but ultimately, yeah, I mean, you are still probably using a lot of the resources from their lab. And so
Yeah.
you are still committing to working with that supervisor, that group. You
Yeah.
can't just sort of go off and do your own thing without any kind of
Yeah.
agreement. But you do have a bit more flexibility, I'd say. You've got
Okay.
that argument you can make if you want to be a bit more independent about where things go. And yeah, I can't remember what your question was now. Okay. Oh yeah, the different fellowships. Yeah, but
Yeah.
so this actually brings me on to my the next part of this
Okay,
very long
amazing.
story.
No, it's really
So,
interesting. I didn't know you did all this.
uh, when in that sort of after those sort of first 4 years,
Yeah.
I thought I need to know I need to decide what I'm going to do next. I'm not. I'd already been asked a couple of times whether I could apply for a permanent position in France, and
Yeah.
I didn't even try. Not because I didn't want to obviously advance, but because I just felt that my French was terrible. And I don't think you can be that. I think to succeed in France, you just do need to be able to speak French.
I think it
Uh,
helps.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I did, I decided I'm going to have to, I can't progress here. I just not be on this. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
fabulous and I've enjoyed every moment of it, life as well as the research. But
Yeah.
ultimately, I'm going to have to decide to go back or go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's when I applied for a different type of fellowship. So it's basically a
Okay.
fellowship it's a startup to get your own research lab going.
Oh
So
wow.
you
Okay.
become the
Yeah.
PI basically.
Oh, I see.
Um, and that was a 5-year fellowship from the Medical Research Council with like a career development award. And so you're writing up this whole proposal of what your
Yeah.
research will be, but
Yeah.
it's not like a grant, which is about just the project.
Yeah.
It's they're looking at you as a candidate, and you're um, a, as a candidate to be a leader in research in the
Yeah.
future,
Your potential. Yeah.
and your potential. And so, yeah, the emphasis and where the decisions are made and how they're made
Mm,
is different. And so the money is really, there's a lot of money for it as well. You get money to start, to buy equipment and things.
yeah.
Um, and so that startup, I applied for that, and you have to choose an institute that you want to go and work at, or university you're going to
Wow.
go to.
Yeah.
And at that time, Sussex had the Sussex Drug Discovery Centre. I think it was called something different at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and but one of the targets was actually the same receptor I was working on. So I thought,
Oh.
well, you know what, that would make sense as a.
Yeah.
It's also actually close to where I grew up. I grew up not far from here.
No
Um,
way.
and my son was 1 year, he's only 1 year old, and
No.
um, my wife was pregnant with our second child, and I thought, you know what, if we go there as well, we're close
Yeah.
to grandparents, right? And
Yeah. That always helps.
I sort of never really lived that close to my parents since I left home at 18. So
It's cute. Yeah. That's up north.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
close to where I'm from. That's why I thought it was a good option.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Whereabouts? Where are you from? In
Newcastle.
Newcastle. Yeah,
Yeah. So quite far from Sussex, but
yeah,
we digress.
yeah. And so I it was very kind of scary because I actually applied for a different fellowship from the Wellcome Trust and I didn't get it. But
Yeah.
I sort of thought about my application and looked at the feedback and changed it, wrote it, sent it off to the MRC, and then they invited me for interview. That was scary
Oh.
because the
Yeah.
interview is at the MRC headquarters in London,
Yeah.
and they say you've got to send, I think it was 2 or 3 slides in advance by about a
Okay.
month.
A month. Okay. Yeah. So.
So you have to be prepared. And you had to answer quite a lot of questions in those 3 slides, and you've got to present it in like 3 minutes or something like that.
Okay.
And I remember I'd never practiced the talk, or, so much before, because I think the shorter the talk, the harder it is actually to get the timing right.
3 minutes for a lot of questions. So it's an easy job then, I assume.
Uh, yeah, but I think I was so nervous, but suited and booted, went up there and I gave it, and actually it went well. It went very
Yeah.
well. I couldn't have imagined it going better. Uh, I couldn't actually. I was so surprised about how confident I felt at the time, because I remember walking in there, and it was a big room, all glass panel, kind of, so
Oh.
you could see all the buildings around you,
Yeah.
and and then there was this kind of the table was like you kind of N shape, if you like, around you. So
Yeah.
you kind of were surrounded by people, all who were ready to ask you questions and to try and pull your project apart or
Wow.
um so yeah, and then I got the phone call first thing the next day, and they told me I got
Okay.
it. So
Wow.
that started my journey at Sussex. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where we are now. I mean, I'm no
Yeah.
longer a research fellow. I'm now
Yeah.
research and teaching faculty,
Yeah.
but um, yeah, that was my journey
Wow. That's
in
very that's
45
really cool.
minutes.
I didn't it was very interesting. I didn't even know 5 minutes. Wow, it's fine. So it didn't feel that long. Wow.
Oh
That's
well,
actually
that's a good sign.
no, I was that was very interesting. I'm sure all the listeners, and there's many, I'm assuming, are feeling in the exact same boat right now. So so you're at Sussex now. Obviously, time has progressed, and you're no longer a fellow. And you do teaching now. Is that
Mm.
something you saw yourself doing?
It's interesting you should ask that. My teaching's a bit in the family. My dad was a secondary school teacher,
Yeah.
and well, actually, he taught at kind of college level as well. So he was
Science?
teaching, no, not science,
Oh,
French and German. And
to be
he's
fair,
a
should have been better.
Yeah, 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 I know this. So he was head of modern languages, and he could speak so many languages, but he only taught French
Wow.
and German.
Yeah,
And I just thought that's amazing. I couldn't
that's
believe it.
very cool.
But he taught me German. Okay, this
Yeah.
is where it comes in. He taught me
Okay.
German, and I could see my dad how he taught me,
Hmm.
and I must have been difficult, but I was difficult for him. I know I was. I mean, I wasn't naughty, but I just if I had to do the same with my son, I don't know. He's strange. I can't imagine doing that. Anyway, I saw how he taught, and you know what? I'm a lot like my dad,
Yeah.
and it just feels I teach the same way that my dad does, basically,
Yeah.
and
With a
not
lot of
not
patience.
well.
You've seen me try and do all. You have to have a lot of patience for that.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I don't know. It's funny though because yeah, he is modern languages, and my languages are terrible. But I think his dad, so my grandfather was, or both of my grandparents were actually very kind of engineering type minds. So uh, and those sorts of jobs. So it was. I think that's where it comes from, really.
Yeah.
Skipped a
That's really
generation.
cool. Yeah.
But yeah, teaching is something I actually enjoy doing more than uh, probably more than most. Um, the actual student facing part, at least, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know any faculty member who enjoys marking, but uh, so,
I don't want to
so,
talk about marking right now. We got our exam results back recently,
oh
so
no.
that's fine. It's just a sore subject right now. So you're at Sussex.
Yeah,
You're doing teaching
yeah,
and you do research as well.
yes,
So do you want to talk a little bit about your current project?
yes. So currently, I'm still working and have a, a strong interest in the same receptors actually that I was
Yes,
working on,
consistent.
or same receptor family that I was working on during my PhD. But
Yeah,
it's more in a disease context now.
yeah,
Partly because I think that's the way things are going. I mean, that we've
yeah,
more and more pressure from funders to apply what we know
yeah,
to improve sort of treatments. And our research isn't super translational. It's not like we're trying to. It's not like we're working in the clinic or
yeah,
applying things in the clinic, but it's got more direct. The benefits clearer, and the aims are more directed to translation than my research ever was before.
Do you like that? That it's now gearing towards translation towards diseases rather than just the interest in the receptors themselves?
I don't know,
If you
and
could choose to be just studying receptors like you were before,
yeah,
would you want to do that? And I know because for funding, it is very much you like translate it to a certain disease and then funding comes from those places. But
yeah.
let's say that wasn't the case, would you choose to still be just the mechanisms and just the receptors themselves?
It's funny you should ask that. I remember when I was a PhD student, especially, and sort of my early postdoc, I remember feeling uh, this sort of love for the research that I was doing at the time,
Yeah,
and I just spend so much time searching literature, reading
yeah,
papers about it, and I can't tell whether it's because I'm not at the ground level doing the experiments anymore,
yeah.
or whether it's because my theme of the research has shifted, that I just don't find myself doing that as much. Um,
Okay.
because I don't know, I teach more. I'm sort
Yeah,
of trying to spend. my time worrying about getting enough people into the lab to run the project rather
Yeah.
than actually, and I enjoy the projects the most when I get most involved, which
Yeah.
my PhD and postdocs probably, or you probably don't
Yeah.
agree with me, but that's when I enjoy it. I think it's more to do with the fact that I'm more hands off than I used to be. That
Okay.
I rather than just changing the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
So when you
I
say
think,
you're more hands off now, you are the supervisor now.
yeah, yeah.
So you say you're not on the ground anymore, so you don't deal with
Yeah, I don't
any.
do the experiments. I'm not day
Yeah.
to day trying to uh, tweak the experiment design or improve the technique to get it
Yeah.
to refine the measurements I'm taking, all the sort of things that I was enjoying before. Um, um, and using the literature as well to help um, change the course of the project more
Yeah.
at a sort of lower level, I suppose. Yeah, um, that I kind of miss, but at the same time, I know I can't go back. So,
Yeah.
uh, and
You've progressed too
I'm
much.
enjoying what I'm doing now, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
good.
not the same. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
different, and uh, that I just have to live with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that,
that doesn't sound positive, does it? But I do enjoy it, and I think it's the right way that research is going. Um, to be more kind of have more emphasis on translation, and
hmm
we are obliged to as well because most of my funding at the moment is now from charities.
Yeah,
So
that's why I've got to have that edge to it.
yeah, it is. It does sort of slightly change where you know you can't just follow up stuff because you're interested. You know,
Yeah.
you are answering to your funders as well, and
Yeah.
your funders are very keen to know what progress we make, like towards treatments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're head of your lab working on the same receptors. So you're not doing the groundwork yourself, but I'm assuming you have multiple projects in your lab currently. So do they all center around the same receptor, but what are the different projects? What are they
Ah,
working
yeah.
on?
So we've got some work. Got a PhD student who's working on uh, ApoE, so
Yeah.
genetic risk factor for late onset Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah.
And that project was born out of a link that we'd found with NMDA receptors, so the
Yeah.
receptors that my lab was interested in. And but it's sort of the experiments and the findings have taken it in a slightly different direction
Yeah.
to that. So,
Okay.
um, but that's one of the areas we're interested in, and it's actually partly because we had a doctoral training center for ApoE,
Yeah.
Alzheimer's disease, and so there was funding at the time to recruit PhD students and have faculty at Sussex run
Yeah.
those projects. So that's how I got involved in that. And a lot of the work that we're doing at the moment is uh, following up from the work that I did under the fellowship with the Medical
Yeah.
Research Council, and that is supported now by these charities. So it's so the what are there are people with mutations in the glutamate receptors at
Yeah.
synapses, and we're interested in trying to understand basically how are these mutations affecting the way these receptors work at synapses, and
Okay.
um, because then we can start to try and um, design better treatments. Ultimately,
For
that's what we're trying to
Alzheimer's?
do. No, these are patients these who have rare disease, they're rare disease
Oh,
patients
I
who
see.
have
Yeah.
genetic mutations
Okay.
in these receptors.
Yeah.
Um, so they
Does
have
it have a name or is it just like
they
a mutation?
they they're just basically when you go into the rare disease field,
Yeah.
uh, the a lot of genes, you can have lots of different patients with mutations in different genes, but they kind of some of them are a lot of them will have sort of overlapping or very similar symptoms, and they're usually
Yeah.
syndromic. Um,
Yeah.
so like multiple disease phenotypes. And when you ask one of these patients, what have you got? You know,
Hmm.
they'll tell you, I've got grin. Like, what? Grin one. Oh, what's Grin one? Well, Grin one is just the gene name that happens to be mutated. So
Yeah.
the disease is
I
actually
see.
called, they
Grim,
actually
grim,
call
the
it
name of the gene.
but it's more the patients that have driven this, rather than the
Yeah.
science. It's funny. Um,
What are these typical symptoms?
oh gosh, it actually depends on which of the receptors is mutated, but
Okay.
you can some of them have epilepsy,
Yeah.
intellectual disability. Um, they might have some movement disorder.
Yeah.
They'll have some of them have schizophrenia, or not so many.
Hmm.
ASD.
Yeah.
Um, they are
So
often,
this is
yeah,
really
lots of
sorry,
things.
sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
But
That's
lots of
really
things.
interesting. So
Yeah.
how obviously a lot of these symptoms occur without a mutation usually. Well, I'm assuming. So how do they know that it's caused by mutation? Like, was autism one of the examples? How do they know that it's a mutation in a specific gene? And
Yeah,
like
well, this is
schizophrenia,
it.
for example.
What um what it is that you get these, they're usually young children at the time, and the
Okay.
parents are thinking, oh, that my child is not hitting the developmental milestones.
Yeah.
And the doctor will say, yeah, there's something not right.
Yeah.
And it's probably a rare genetic disorder. And
Okay. So it just goes, the man goes straight there.
yeah,
Okay.
well, I mean, they'll try to treat the symptoms, and if if the if they're not seeing any progression
Yeah.
and they can't work out what it is, because a lot of them have a lot of these neurodevelopmental disorders have very similar um, appearance, especially
Yeah.
given that actually even kids with the same gene mutated can actually have a different spectrum of phenotypes to some
Okay.
extent. Yeah,
That's
there's
helpful.
variability even within the same gene. So it's very hard. You could never say, oh, this person's got exactly this. Yeah,
Yeah.
gene mutated. So, um, well, it's very rare for that. So what you do is you get genetic screening. Yeah, you'll be you'll have your exome sequenced or your um, genome sequenced, and then
Yeah.
essentially they'll try and find mutations which look like they could be causing a problem,
Yeah.
and check that your parents haven't got them. And if they haven't, then and obviously the parents are okay, then
Yeah.
it's likely to be that
Oh,
mutation. Okay, and
that's really
then there starts the journey
yeah.
for them. Okay, so then they get told they've got a mutation in, I don't know, Grin one,
Yeah.
and then the parents go online and they
Yeah.
try and find other people who have got kids in the same boat, and then they find these charities that are springing up.
Yeah. That's really cool. So the translation of your research, is it looking to undo these mutations?
Yeah, this is really a tough question because, well, oh, we would love to, but
Yeah. It's
if
not that it's
the
not that simple.
trouble with neurodevelopmental disorders is how much of what that gene is doing in early development
Hmm.
is actually really reversible.
Yeah. Okay.
And you know, would it be necessary to do an early treatment that
Okay.
is only transient but has long-lasting effects because everything's set up properly then after
Yeah,
that?
but how then it's like how would you know that's occurring
We
in
don't.
neurodevelopment anyways? Yeah.
Well, we, I'm sure that some of the phenotypes will need to be, you'd need, you could fix to some extent in
Hmm.
the adult. There is some evidence that in this context, at least, of the genes that we're interested in, that could be the case, at least for some of the cognitive deficits.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some, I'm sure, that you would need to fix early on
Yeah.
to and it might be that actually fixing them early on means that you don't need to continue treatment in the adult for those particular
Yeah.
symptoms, but and then you could just focus on those that you do need to continue treatment with. But I think, people are looking at all sorts of options, whether it's gene therapy
Yeah.
um, or sort of drug therapy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
With
that
these, sorry, this is really interesting. With these neuronal mutations that we would prevent at development, would it be, since they're rare genetic disorders, can we like either one, figure out which babies are going to have these mutations, or
yeah.
two, is it some sort of worldwide screening that's mandatory for all babies to be checked on?
So this is a very pertinent question because um, the involvement of any particular gene during development will depend on
Yeah,
the gene,
yeah,
and that could be the stage in development that they're involved in could be very, very early on.
yeah,
So, um, for the case of the GRIN receptors or the NMDA receptors, they are involved pretty early on in development, actually, but probably the third in the last trimester
yeah,
is uh, where some important stuff goes on there in
yeah,
particular. And so what are you saying? Well, we'd need to, if especially if they're de novo mutations, which means that these are mutations that happened in the germline.
yeah,
The only way to know would be to do a very early genetic screen. But
yeah,
ethically, we've got all sorts of problems with that, I think.
yeah,
And also, um, I suppose the cost as well. So even beyond
yeah,
ethics, the cost of that would be enormous.
yeah,
And I'm sure that there will be uh, it, unless the tax man's paying for it, you're going to then have some of the population doing it and others not, And
yeah,
so I don't know where that's going to go, and I think it will depend on scientists answering questions about how likely it is that we are actually going to fix this by
yeah,
doing it that way. I
yeah,
think if we have enough evidence to make that case, then I think we need to bring that discussion to the table.
yeah,
I think at the moment we're still trying to work that out more. We need to fully explore the options of adult treatment, or at
yeah,
least po treatment while they're um, a kid, at least,
yeah,
uh, rather than looking before birth. I think that
yeah,
could be difficult, but I think at some stage for some diseases that will need to be a discussion.
yeah. That's really interesting though. So
Yeah.
that's right. I just want to clarify because I find this very interesting. The research you're doing now is you're looking into these receptors, looking into the mutations, and just understanding how they work first.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We
Yeah.
and also how they can we want to be able to understand how currently we're trying to work out, does the effect of the mutation on the receptor, does it affect synaptic transmission in different ways during development? So that's what we're
Ah, I
asking at the
see.
moment.
Okay.
And that's how
Yeah.
it relates to this actually. Um, because there are changes in the receptor subunit expression through development. And
Yeah.
so this could, and we've got some evidence that we published in 2022, which indicates that um, this change in the expression pattern can actually
Hmm.
then change the way the mutation affects the receptor's function at synapses.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so
Yeah. That's very cool. I had a look at the your summary on your page, but that
oh
was
God,
very interesting.
how old is that summary?
I
God, I've had
don't.
to, you know what? I don't know if I've seen that page for about 5 years.
Yeah, I think
It
I think
might
a
be.
lot of it is very out of date because I
Yeah,
remember off topic, but I remember as I was Googling people to work in their labs,
yeah.
I think I emailed like three people who didn't even work here anymore.
Yeah,
So
there's
yeah.
some issues with the website. I don't think, and it's not helped by the fact actually we're not allowed to edit it anymore. So
Oh,
even if we wanted to, we can't update it directly. So it has to all go through a system, and I'm not sure how well that system's working at the moment. So
Well,
yeah.
petition for an update, please.
Sorry?
I'm sure the
Yeah,
university is
yeah. Just
listening right now.
I'm
Um,
sure. Yeah, it's there is some narrative about
yeah.
that.
I actually thought of a question, which actually
Yeah.
links to you being a supervisor and less hands-on, I think. So I was wondering, um, well, since you're a supervisor, obviously, the possibilities of people coming and working in your lab, like the opportunities that there
Mm.
are, and maybe not even just in your lab, but other labs at Sussex in general. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think so I think probably the most attractive opportunity, which you're aware of, because you
Yeah.
mentioned it early on, is the JRA.
Yeah.
Partly because it's financial support for the student, which is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Um, they are students at Sussex, so there's already. So unlike sort of work experience people coming in,
Yeah.
they're all, the insurance is already there. You've already been through health. You've already sort of had the health and safety spiel from
Yeah.
um, for the labs. And so by extension, we just have to sort of show you the risk assessments and get you to
Yeah.
sign them.
I'm just
Um,
going to clarify for people who don't know what the GRA is. It is a
oh yeah,
scheme
go
at
for it.
Sussex that you can complete in your middle years, I do believe, and it's an 8-week research program. Yeah, which I've applied for. Fingers crossed. If the application people are listening right now, I implore you to please let me do it. Thank you. That's all. Please continue.
I think that that's a good scheme. It's become a little. I think with the financial situation at the moment, I think it's become a
Yeah,
little less attractive for faculty to
yeah,
support JRAs because they've basically cut any funding to support the lab to resource it,
yeah, yeah,
or made it impossible for us to access those funds, which is
yeah,
crazy because um, people the funding in labs, it goes up and down, right?
yeah,
And it's uh, it's that support is something that it's not much, but
hmm
it does incentivize it, you
yeah,
supervisors to support a JRA application, and I
yeah,
think I think I don't think it's a big cost really to for them to spend money on.
yeah. So I know we get paid, and I'm saying we like I'm going to be doing it once again,
Yeah.
please. But is there no separate fund for the supervisors? Because I know there's like a £200 stipend for like resources, but
Yeah,
is there
but
no like
we've
extra
never been able
funding
to
for?
access that in the last couple of years. We've
Okay.
tried hard actually to do that.
Yeah.
It's just it used to go into a cost code that the supervisor can oh no, that's not right. We used to be able to just email the JRA people and
Yeah.
just ask for them to send the money through to this. We spent it on so and so. And so when you requested that, they just sent it. And then we'd be able
Yeah.
to then purchase the things through our systems that we need to resource it.
Yeah.
But now we can't access it that way. It has to be I think it's something like the student has to pay for it and then they'll pay the student back. But it
Yeah.
means that we can't buy anything through the systems that we normally use.
Because the student, I'm assuming, doesn't have access to those.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's not like they're going to pay on their credit card to use the system, using our
Yeah.
systems. So it's become basically something that we're trying to resource ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, so if you find that supervisors seem more reluctant than they used to in previous years, it's not because they don't want to help the students, but they're wary of being able to resource it.
Yeah. So that's is that one of the main undergraduate options for
So
just
I'd
labs in
say, yeah,
general?
I think that's probably the main one because it's I mean, you've also got your projects that you'll be doing in third year, and if
Yeah.
you're doing uh, uh, a master's, there's
Yeah.
a master's project as well. Those are your probably the main opportunities
Okay.
that you have. Yeah. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know, well, I work with a lab right now. Um, and for my advice, no one asked for it, but I'll give it anyways. It's just to, it's just to email everyone. I've emailed lots of people, and some people are willing to just have you tag along in their research. That's my advice. That no one asked for,
Yeah.
but got anyways.
It's a very much supervisor to supervisor basis
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
whether they'll do that. So you just have to ask. If you don't
Okay.
ask,
Yeah.
you don't get.
That's what I'm saying. Um, and I ask a lot. So that's a undergraduate master's, and I'm going to cover all bases here because I don't know who's listening. But at a postgraduate level, what is the application process like for joining your lab slash labs in general?
So there is a Sussex Neuroscience PhD scheme.
Yeah,
Um, and so that's a 4 year program where you do rotations in the first year and then you pick a lab that you would like to continue doing your 3 year PhD in
oh,
afterwards.
I've heard of this, I think.
Yeah.
There's only one place available, isn't there?
There are, oh, well, in previous years there were four,
Okay.
uh, but one for life sciences.
Yeah, that's yeah. Okay.
So basically, one for life sciences, one for BSMS, one for sort of
Yeah.
psychology, and one for I think I can't remember now.
The plant people?
Engineering, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's that is that is probably the main program that we run.
Yeah.
There occasionally there are sort of PhD opportunities that come up either through uh, external funding, which
Yeah.
is actually quite rare, um, or there is the sometimes the school will put out a call for supervisors to or prospective supervisors to write a
Yeah.
project description that would be
Okay.
considered competitively for a PhD. It's all
Yeah.
dependent on sort of the state of university funds, really.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I would like to see if any sort of funders are listening, I would
I'm
like to
sure they
see
are.
more external funding opportunities for PhD students that aren't just through big programs
Yeah.
because um, I certainly get people come up to me and say, I'd love to do a PhD with you. I don't
Yeah.
have any funding. How can I get funding? I was like, well, yeah, I'm asking the same question because
Yeah.
I had to fight tooth and nail to get the PhD funding that I've got from this charity.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand why I had to fight for it, really, because yeah, basically, if I had to, they were saying, oh, I should employ someone as a research assistant, but
Yeah.
it costs more to employ someone as a research assistant for 9 months than it is to pay a studentship, fund a studentship for three
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
because of the tax, right? The
Yeah.
tax, it's this PhD stipend is tax free. And
Yeah.
so it just didn't
Thank
make
goodness.
sense. Like you're a charity, why would you want your money going to and paying the tax man?
Not the student. Yeah.
And rather than actually making it worthwhile, get the research going on for longer, put the
Yeah.
money into the resources that the student can use to do the research, and actually come out with something more substantial. I
Yeah.
didn't make it took me I couldn't understand why it took so long for them to sort of listen, but they did,
Yeah.
and I'm glad they did because um but I can understand maybe why because it's academia, isn't it? This sort of
Yeah.
it's so hang on, it's tax free.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just wanted to cover those opportunities because, well, since I've started my second year now, you just think, I think there's a lot people are thinking a lot more about
what
putting themselves
next?
out there. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's next, basically? Yeah. I mean, I'm
no,
doing an integrated masters, but I know for a lot of people who are in my situation, this is the this is the last one, their last year is next year. So
Yeah,
they want to get involved with more things.
yeah.
So yeah, current project. And the last thing is, what advice would you give to up and coming students just beginning their academic journeys? You have given a lot of advice throughout the episode, but if you had one grand statement, words of wisdom.
Keep asking questions.
Yeah,
Um, so I, when I was a, when I was at college, I was doing three sciences and music technology for my A
yeah,
levels and AS level. Well, for my A levels at the time, and I didn't really get on well with my physics teacher, and I, for it took me a while to work out why, but it was
yeah,
because he always looked irritated when I asked questions,
yeah.
and no one else in the class asked questions, but I was always
Mm,
asking questions.
good.
And
Yeah,
he always looked so irritated and put out. And
yeah,
I just thought, this doesn't feel right.
yeah.
My gut instinct says that science, you should ask questions.
Naturally.
And even if someone asks me questions and I don't know the answer to them, admitting that you don't know the answer to them is actually, it's a, it's fine. You
Yeah,
can admit that you don't know something because it means you're asking interesting questions.
yeah,
Science is about trying to, um, it's trying to find out things that we don't know. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a path of discovery. Um, and even in what seems maybe like maybe if you're just researching the literature, doing some investigation, just always ask questions, even yourself questions. Yeah,
yeah,
keep it sort of you've got this argument with yourself almost about what is the way what next, or what should I look at next, or why is it like this, or
yeah,
that's it, or finding discrepancies, trying to resolve those discrepancies, trying to find patterns, trying to and asking yourself question, well, where next? Where do I, how do I resolve this? And you know what?
yeah,
Actually, it's what I what facilitates this process, to my mind, actually, is Gen AI, because you can ask Gen AI questions better than you can ask Google, and it will give you answers that at least are in a conversational form
yeah,
rather than just a load of hits on Google.
yeah,
So I think it facilitates it. You want to be careful not to rely on it too much, I think,
yeah,
but it's quite useful to just have this discussion with it.
mm,
There is a danger that, I mean, these Gen AI is designed to give you dopamine hit, and it does
yeah.
this by actually saying, you know what, you're right.
Yeah,
It's like,
you're
well,
so
if
smart
I'm
asking
always
this
right,
question.
then
Yeah,
then there's no point in asking you any questions. Um, so you do have to be a bit careful with, the language it uses is, and sometimes it will bias towards making you feel like you've got
yeah,
the right answer, but you just have to keep asking it questions. And
yeah,
in a way, it makes you ask them questions more,
yeah.
and to really nail down. And you have to really look at their answers critically,
Hmm.
and ask more questions and
Yeah,
dive into those. So in a way, it's kind of good practice. But
yeah.
my
That's
point
cool.
is that I think you just always ask questions. Just keep
Yeah,
asking questions.
that's good. So for closing remarks, I'd say to summarize, always ask questions.
Yes.
Funding people, let's look in and let me get my JRE, please. I think that sums up the episode perfectly, I'd say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So
Yeah.
anything more you'd like to add before we say goodbye to the many, many listeners?
Thank you very much for listening.
It
It was a long 45-minute journey on my
was very
way to
interesting.
France, and then even longer to get here. But I
I don't
hope it
think I
was
helped
worth it.
because I made you jump across the channel multiple times. So, so
Well,
I didn't.
just yeah, it might not seem a long way, but to jump it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I imagine so. Well, thank you everyone for listening. I will see you guys again in the next episode. Goodbye.